When Nicole met handsome, charming, affectionate David, he was everything. It seemed perfect. But soon she sees that David has a darker side, and his adoration turns to obsession, their dream into nightmare, and her love into fear. 1996. First of all, that was word for word the synopsis from IMDb. Second of all, I rewatched this movie recently with a friend and I was so scared that it wouldn't age properly. Your eyes do not deceive you. That's a pretty young Marky Mark. Nicole's friend, Margot, that's Alyssa Milano. Yes, Nicole is Reese Witherspoon. And Nicole's dad, Steve, is played by William Petersen, the guy from CSI. Oh yeah, hi, I'm Get Level, I yap about movies. I saw this movie when I was a little kid. Probably way too young to watch it, but my parents weren't really responsible in that way. So I kept a really fond memory of this movie somehow. Me and my friend, we've been watching movies from the 90s that left a good impression on us. Not always knowing if it'll age well, basically. Make sure you watch my video on Secret Window. But this one, after watching it, I was like, you know what? This is still a pretty decent movie. This is pretty good. There are some things that you feel were of the times, but overall, the pacing is great. Mark Wahlberg actually does a pretty good performance. Some choices were kind of weird, but other choices were like, hey, I kind of want modern movies to do that. If you haven't seen it yet, I am about to recap it, but I actually recommend this movie, so go watch it first and then come back for the recap. And if you've already seen it, well, let's go through it again. Quick disclaimer here is that I know about Marky Mark's past. 1996 probably wasn't too far from it. This is a pretty old movie. When I watched it, I was probably 7 years old. So my fond memory of it and the fact that I enjoyed it recently also does not count as an endorsement of everyone's action that participated in this film. In fact, while doing some research on this movie before the video, I found out that some pretty messed up things happened during the shooting of this film. But anyways, here's the quick recap. Nicole is this 16-year-old girl from this fairly rich family that lived near a mountain lake. And yes, you saw the dog. It's a thriller. The dog doesn't make it, okay? I'm gonna tell you right now. Nicole lives with her dad, her stepmom, and her brother. And you know, yada, 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 teenage girl. Dad is being like, oh, why are you dressing like that? And she's all rebellious and everything and tells everything to her best friend at school. Margot is her best friend and she likes to go to bars and stuff. And this is where they meet David. David hangs out with a group of edgy boys. David is like in his 20s. In general, we can tell the relationship with her dad is not great, but he's trying his best, kind of. He's trying not to be super controlling, but also she's pretty rebellious. And the stepmom is actually really chill and really trying to help. They go to this rave. She sees David again. David's friends start a fight and they have to run out. Cops surround the place and they have to make an escape for it. She hops in his car. It's all exciting and everything. Things move super duper fast and they kiss right then and there. Mom is like, hey, where have you been? And blah, blah, blah. But you know, rich kids, what can you do? Throughout the whole movie, and this is a part that I really like, we see the relationship with her dad kind of go like roller coaster. Oh, it's funny, there's a roller coaster scene. But we can see when the dad is basically losing her a little bit and when he's gaining her trust and when things seem to be going better. And I like that. It wasn't just dad is controlling, kid is rebellious. It was like up and down. And you can feel a certain amount of effort, especially from the parents. For some reason, that gives a lot of depth. Because I was a little rebellious too. And I get to empathize a little bit with Nicole while also feeling bad for the parents doing their best. We also see conversations between the parents about it. And it's definitely a difficult task. Now back at school, like the creep that David is, goes to pick Nicole up. And that's when the best friend sees David. Like, oh, what is going on? They go out after school and it's all romantic. And David actually shows up to the parents' house and officially meets the parents and the dog and the kid. Don't get attached to the dog, I'm telling you. So they try to do everything legit, meeting the parents and all that official boyfriend stuff. David seems to be nice with the brother, with the dog and all that. Now do keep in mind that Nicole is 16. David is in his 20s. I just know that I'm not comfortable with it. I'm not cool with it at all. If I was the dad, I would not be okay with that whatsoever. But also it's important to note that 1996 Hollywood was weird. And there's a scene here where David's in the dad's office and he goes, Nicole, get me a Coke. Talks to her a little stern. And the dad doesn't seem to like that at all. Also, very weird scene here. There's a whole thing with Margot kind of seducing the dad, but not really. She's just doing stuff around him and he seems like completely hypnotized and mesmerized by her body. She's also supposed to be like around Nicole's age. And David kind of catches a glimpse at that. It's weird. While I was doing research on the movie, I found out that they wanted to make some sort of like weird backstory for David about his mom and like a story of assault, basically, him being kind of like the product of assault. And they wanted to make a big reveal that Steve was actually the perpetrator in said assault. This is not in the movie, so this is not canon, but they tried to do that. So the movie would have been extra messed up if they had that. They wanted to make this weird incestuous and assault driven story. It's wow. To let you know where their minds were at in 1996. Anyways, the Twilight story continues, and here's the roller coaster scene that I was talking about. When I rewatched this recently, I was like, why did my parents let me watch this? He's basically giving her a hand, if you will. He's showing her how good he is at pointing and throwing up gang signs and doing a medical exam on a roller coaster. Yes, please do remember how old she is. Anyways, the parents go on vacation at some point and she calls him over. He just waltz in the house. She falls asleep and he just walks in the house and she gives him the entry code for shadowing. So yeah, it hasn't even been a month since you started dating this guy and you're just letting him in, giving him the passcode to your door, and they have sex. Once again, I'm not cool with this. So back at school, she's walking out and waiting for him, for David, that is, and she hugs her best friend. And David loses it, starts beating him up and actually kicking him on the ground and everything, even elbows her when she tries to pry him off of him before driving off. Now she has a black eye and she has to explain it. Her stepmom gives her makeup. By the way, the mom is Amy Brenneman. She was in NYPD Blue and also the series Judging Amy. I keep saying stepmom, but now I have a doubt. The dad doesn't notice the black eye because the stepmom or the mom, I'm going to say the mom from now on, helped her with some makeup. And the thriller part of the movie officially kicks off. We can see David follow her around the school, leaving her a note. And now we take a glimpse at David's living conditions. So he lives in this place with all of his buddies, and you can tell that it's kind of like, it's a trap house pretty much. On his wall, we can see a couple of pictures he took with Nicole, as well as his mug shot. She receives a package and immediately throws it in the trash, so the parents are like, hey, what is this about? And she finally shows her black eye to the dad, and while she was explaining what was happening with Gary, I think that's the name of her friend, dad overhears it and basically asks, hey, did he give you the black eye? But he's pissed, rightfully so, and he comes up a little aggressive, so she has a hard time opening up face to that. And that's when he sees the condom package on the ground, and yep, he loses it a little bit. So without revealing what he just found, he talks to her a little harsher, saying things that, I don't know what I did to disappoint you, but you don't have to mess up your complete life, you know, like being a little egocentric, I'd say, because he thinks everything that she does has to do with him, basically, that she's trying to so hard to disappoint him or whatever. And she tells him that. She says, hey, every little move I make doesn't necessarily have to do with you. And those are the moments that I'm talking about where you can see the relationship starts mending and then breaks apart. So here we have this confrontation and you can understand both sides. He just found like a condom wrapper on the floor. So he's definitely not happy at all. So he says and he doesn't like exaggerate the way that he scolds her or whatever, but she's also right, because instead of saying, hey, I just found a condom wrapper, he's talking about her ruining her life to get back at him somehow. So she has every right to be pissed too. Anyways, he shows it to the mom, and it's kind of funny because we have this self-fulfilling prophecy where not having support from the dad will inevitably lead to her maybe forgiving David. So of course he does the sweet talk, this will never happen again, I'm ashamed, blah blah blah. And the dad comes back from work just to see David just playing around with his wife and everything. It's wild. It is wild. So this is one of the parts where, again, you empathize 100% with the dad. You're like, what is going on right now? Look at that. Look at that. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a big fan of anger, rage being built up in movies. I don't think it needs to involve women as a prop the way that, you know, they used to do in the 90s. I don't think it's necessary to always have a daughter and a wife and, oh, that'll piss a man off. I think there's many, many other things. A movie like Cheap Thrills, for example, I love this movie so much because of the anger that builds, and it has nothing to do with their significant other, and no one is really used as a prop except for the main characters. Anyways, I love the little slow burn in thrillers or psychological thrillers where someone is like being pushed, but like slowly, you know, death by a thousand cuts. And the way the story evolves definitely chases that. So the dad calls in a favor from someone, he's rich, well connected, to run a background check on David, rightfully so. And this is one of my favorite scenes. This is the scene that really, really stuck to me as a kid throughout my adulthood. Dad decides to confront David, give him the good old stay away from my daughter, blah, blah, blah. I know everything about you now. I know you've been to prison and you've been in foster care and you've done a bunch of crimes, blah, blah, blah. Except, dude, you're an architect. You're an architect. Like, you can't threaten someone whose life revolves around violence. So he goes to see David, gives him a good talk, and David is like completely chill as a cucumber, taking it well. And Steve is doing his best to be menacing and all that. And this right there threatens him pretty hard, hits him 2 fingers, and that's it. Keep in mind that the whole rage buildup thing is pretty high here. He said stuff about his family. He said stuff about his wife. He's like kind of alleging that the wife is trying to seduce him and things like that. It's wild. So the dad does his little, I'm gonna rip your na and do this and do that, and then walks away. And right after that, you know what David does? And please pay attention to this part. I'm gonna actually play it, and hopefully YouTube lets me get away with it. Look at what David does. So when I first saw that, I had no idea what was going on. I was like, oh, is he just hyping himself up? Or is he like so mad that he's just hitting himself because that's something he does, like to self-regulate or something? You'll see. We really spent a little bit of time with the dad here. He's talking to like his best friend or something. And the guy says something like, oh, you didn't expect your daughter to stay a virgin, did you? Like, no one is supporting him. They're really building up this rage that the dad has. So when Nicole finally comes back from school or whatever, she is furious. She's yelling at the dad and she says, I never thought you would do something like that. I saw everything. I saw the bruises on his chest. I can't believe like you were violent like that. Oh my. I remember as a kid watching this being like, oh, bruises on his chest. It's like, oh, dude is a genius. Like, dude is a genius, aka a menace. My parents really had no business letting me watch this movie, if we're being honest. So the dad is confused, but Nicole is not having anything. She walks off, and David is outside, gives him this look. I'm telling you, like, I'm not a huge fan of Mark Wahlberg in general, but this movie was just like perfect for him. Insert a joke about him actually being violent in real life at that time. Yes, it's a serious matter. I take it very seriously, even though I'm trying to make jokes about it. So Steve is losing his mind. David managed to spark up that romance again. And the relationship with her father is just completely shattered at this point. All right, hold on. There's a pretty messed up scene coming up. She gets invited to a party, and while she's walking up, she can see her friend pretty much like smoking crack, straight up smoking crack with her boyfriend, which is like the friend of David. And like they're doing things very explicit. And then David shows up and goes like, oh, come with me, And she kind of refuses. She's like, hey, I'm my boyfriend here. Even the boyfriend says no. And David like insists, and I'm putting this lightly, he pretty much forces her physically and all. It's pretty bad. I'm not going to lie. So she sees this. She doesn't even see it as like an assault or anything like that, or coercion, or, a bad situation for her friend. She sees it as David cheating on her with her best friend. The dog is still alive. She goes home to find the dad asleep with the phone on himself. And that moment is kind of cute, You're like, oh, he cares so much. He was so worried about her. And again, even though the relationship was completely broken, literally like 3 minutes ago, now you see this little scene where you can feel like, okay, she probably feels something seeing her dad like that, and she probably thinks, you know what, Dad, you were right all along. The dad finds her sleeping in her bedroom, and she seems more receptive, more calm. He's just happy that she's home safe. She doesn't say what's going on. She says she doesn't want to talk about it. So Nicole's chilling at school, and David shows up, and they have to basically push him off and be like, get out of here, dude. She then gets home. I'm pretty sure there was a whole scene with him following them or something. I don't remember. And Margot shows up and trying to be like, hey, what's going on? She's like, oh, I know what you did and blah, blah, blah. And basically ends the friendship on this basis. And you can see that like she is not happy about it. She got pretty much assaulted and had to do a bunch of stuff against her will. And her best friend is basically blaming her for that. Now she does feel guilty and try to go back, but the friend already left. While she's driving away from the house, David starts tailing her, nearly runs her off the road. This scene is actually pretty good. This is a pretty good chase scene. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it is. It's really tense. Grabs her and he's like, why did you tell her? Because when they were at school, she basically told him, hey, I know what you did and blah, 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 blah. And he thinks that Margot told her. I just said blah, 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 blah. One of my viewers told me, hey, can you try to replace blah, blah, blah with something else? I'm like, I'll try. It's really part of my vocabulary. I'm not American. English is not my first language. It's not even my second language. So it's difficult for me. But yeah, blah, blah, blah is something that I'm working on. Margot has to tell him, no, she knew. She already knew. And here he's like full psycho. He's super creepy. And he even smooches her. It's weird. It's super weird. And he says, you better make it right. Because if you don't, I'm going to hurt you. So obviously, horrible situation. Really good for the movie when it comes to like, it's a horror movie or a thriller. But very, very awful situation. He shows up to her house and the dad opens the door. He's like, I'm sorry. But of course, the dad is not having any of it. I love this frame. Just slams the door. We get a shot of David at home and he is writing something on himself. Basically, like scars himself with Nicole forever. That's kind of cringe, but also that's even scarier. The fact that it's so childish and cringe. Oh, I think this is the weird stalking sequence. Dad drops Nicole at school, and when she leaves school, she says bye to her best friend, and the best friend is just walking around and somehow manages to find himself right with David and somewhere isolated. Of course, it gets physical, and David ends up killing him, snaps his neck. Oh yeah, there's a stunt here. Completely unnecessary. Completely unnecessary. I don't know why they put it in the movie. Let me show you. So he starts running, right? And David starts chasing him, and they're running, and they're running, and they're running, and at some point he gets pushed or something. Look at that. And I don't know why. I don't know why. Oh, by the way, that was it. He killed him there. He like snapped his neck or something. But I don't know. They had extra budget for a stunt double, and they were like, do a flip, bro. Just do a flip. All right, so big hostilities start. Dad, after work, finds his car completely destroyed. We get some scenes where the family is at the mall and we see David stalking from afar. The dad is trying his best to immediately go find his family, but David manages to corner Nicole in the bathroom. At this point, he's showing his true face and smooches her against her will before leaving. That's when we realized that the dad wasn't joining his family. He was going to David's place because he figured out where he lived. And this is, well, first of all, this is where you can see Chucky on the left here on the the mental there. And yes, that's some sort of Photoshop of Nicole on Jesus, I guess. Very weird stuff. He finds a pair of penny of his daughter. He finds like a necklace from her. He finds a bunch of stuff from her, basically. And when David and his crew come back, they realize that the place is completely, well, trashed more than it was before. Posters are ripped up. Things are broken. Things are smashed, which really pisses them off. Now we get into the last 20 minutes of the movie where it becomes this home invasion horror. It's kind of my favorite part of the movie, but I feel like the escalation made sense. They went to great lengths to really build up not only David's rage, but also the dad, and also like the deception that Nicole felt without Nicole being 16, being too dumb. Right? She doesn't make a ton of very, very stupid decisions or anything like that, but she is just naive enough to fall into the trap of not seeing someone for who he is or letting things move too far. The only thing we can blame her is that, things went a little too far, a little too fast, basically. That's it. She was acting super nice. He was being romantic. In her eyes, he was being fine. So she didn't do anything wrong, technically. Except trust them. That's it. I mean, if we think about it, the whole family trusted him. So anyway, so Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch show up at the house and two things happened. Yep. I told y'all. I tried to warn you. I told you not to get attached. Dog dies and something comes into the doggy door and it's the dog without the body, just the head. So boom, right there. That's like probably 30, 40 years of therapy for that little kid. And Marky Mark is at the door. This shot alone, so good. So good. This shot represents the whole movie. I love it. At some point, the dad is like, we're fine. I spent a lot of money on security, okay? They cannot enter unless they have like the code to the door. Yep. She says, he kind of has the code to the door. And he says creepy stuff like, you should allow nature to take its course with his accent. And he says all that all calm. And then apparently he improvises a line at the end of his reading, and they kept it. And it's him going from very calm
Allow nature to take its course. In the end, it will anyway.
to screaming.
So let me the fucking house!
Not bad. Not bad. They kept it. They kept it. At this point, they're absolutely trying to smash every window. They're struggling to get in, but it's complete panic. They cut the electricity. And it's difficult for me to do a play-by-play because there's a ton that's happening. One of the guys gets on a ladder. Look at this shot. She grabs an umbrella and pushes him off. So look at the stunts. So apparently they have this cop that can see the lake house from where he is, and he sees the lights blinking. He tries calling them, they're not answering, so he decides to go check. In the meantime, they're doing like some next level home defense. The mom grabs a drill, and you can guess what happens next. She goes, bzz. I'm not gonna show it. I'm not gonna show it. I think this movie sparked my love for home invasion types of horror thrillers. Movies like Straw Dogs, Last House on the Left, Who's Next, I guess, or Next, I don't remember. But I like the home invasion plus scrappy self-defense ingenuity. I remember in Straw Dogs, they had like oil boiling and then they threw it to one of the guys outside the window. It's so good. I like when the violence is both sides, right? I don't like when, oh, it's just a family being terrorized. I did not like the movie called Hush, but I appreciated the back and forth. Sheriff shows up, so he puts on his quote unquote mask. But like, oh, everything is cool. Till this guy shows up and a struggle ensues. The sheriff actually does a wild move here. While he's patting David down, his friend shows up with a knife and the sheriff dodges it. I'm telling you, they had a thing for stunts. Watch this. What?
There we are!
And then 2 pistols? Why? What is going on? Dad shows up and just knocks out the friend. But it's not only 2 of them, so this guy shoots the sheriff. And now they have the dad kidnapped. Of course, while threatening to kill the dad, they have no choice but to open the door, let him in, and take all of them hostage. They keep trying to fight back, but they keep getting overpowered. And while the commotion is happening, the little brother actually managed to escape. He gets in a car and catches one of the guys outside. And he doesn't go easy on him. Yeah, and the kid gets the keys to the handcuffs so he can free his mom. David brings Steve upstairs where Nicole is, and he sees that his friend is trying to assault Nicole, and he shoots him. He then threatens to kill Steve and then goes over to Nicole to give her a big speech about how he wanted to keep her forever and ever and ever. And he needed to kill the dad so that they wouldn't have anything in between them and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, full on psychopath. And again, Mark Wahlberg's face during all that, pretty believable. The mom sneaks in and removes the handcuffs from the dad. He starts attacking David, but quickly gets overpowered. And while he's about to execute the dad, Nicole grabs this weird thing and stabs him in the neck. Well, in the back. That face, though. He turns around with the "you stabbed me" face, and the dad shoves him out the window. Look at this shot. Now, here's a very interesting part. We basically fade out an ambulance, more cars, gurneys, and all that. And then, like a dive team, like the Coast Guard. So, without it being said, it's implied that he fell into the water. Well, we saw him fall into the water, but it's implied that they didn't find his body, right? That he survived all this. And I gotta say, first of all, ending super fast, like just cuts to the chase, like out the window, look at each other, fade out to that, and then credits. We're like, we're out of time. We're not gonna hold it. Like, people get it. We get it. He probably survived. They didn't find the body. It's the end. Go home. I really like that. Pacing wise, I really like that because, they took their sweet time to really build up the movie. They give you all the violence at the end, and then that was it, That was it. They didn't overstay their welcome at all. I think making the little brother super smart and taking action, definitely out of the ordinary, I would say, but makes the film extra interesting because he's kind of like the little innocent one that we're like, oh no, the dog died. Next is probably the little kid, right? We're scared for him. Turns out he's the smartest of them all, the most capable. He single-handedly killed one of them and then freed his parents. That's pretty cool. So I read a little bit of the fun facts section on IMDb, and apparently Leonardo DiCaprio, which makes sense because, he was in his prime pretty much in the 90s, was offered the role. He was supposed to play this, and he said he doesn't feel like the role was for him. Can you imagine pretty face Leo playing this character? I can't. I don't see it. I think I think they did well with going with Mark Wahlberg. And it's funny because Leo is the one who recommended Mark Wahlberg because they had done a movie together previously. The director spent some time with Mark Wahlberg and made him audition and realized, yep, that's the guy. We're going to do it. The director later on directed a music video for Marky Mark. And the director, I keep saying the director, James Foley, had previously done a bunch of music videos for Madonna. Interesting. They had Liv Tyler, who was supposed to do Nicole's role, but she turned it down. Oh, and also Gary, the best friend, was supposed to be explicitly gay, but they decided not to put that in a movie. They should have. But 1996, people were a little less tolerant. But I think showing him being explicitly gay would have really exaggerated like the outbursts of violence that David had because your girl is hugging her gay best friend. You're not supposed to think much of it, but he's so violent that he still did. But she's 16, he's in his 20s. Like, it's not a good relationship to begin with. So yeah, there's this whole idea that they had with Steve being actually David's dad, and David pretty much using his own half sister, Nicole, as his girlfriend to get back at Steve. It kind of explains that weird scene where Steve is pretty much checking out Margot. But I'm glad they didn't put that in, even though it explains that scene. That scene is still like the kind of the most disturbing part of it. But I'm pretty glad they kept it out of the movie. It explains this weird scene, but this weird scene is already so out of place. I think it would have been a little too dark. We needed someone to root for. And I'm glad that in the movie, Steve ended up just being a dad trying to protect his family. Oh yeah, I did mention that something awful happened during filming. The roller coaster scene, turns out that she wanted a double. Reese Witherspoon wanted a double to film the scene because she wasn't comfortable doing it. And they refused to give her a double to do it. And she felt absolutely humiliated. So yeah, not cool. Not cool at all. So I'm telling you, as much as I love the story, I love the thriller, I love the horror aspect of it, I think that is done pretty well. It's definitely like a movie kind of indicative of the 90s and where Hollywood had the bar for morality in general. There's definitely an icky, I don't even feel like that's respectful to say that there's an icky feeling watching those scenes, especially in a movie about like a psychopath that ends up making people do a lot of things that they don't want to do, without their consent. Knowing that the actress at this time was doing something that she was totally uncomfortable with. I don't like it. I do not like that. Anyways, this movie is like Obsession without like the one wish thing and with a dude being obsessed. And that's Fear, 1996. If you enjoyed this video, if you're still here, first of all, thank you so much. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe and you like the video so I can know that you liked it. Feel free to leave your comments and I will see you for the next Yap session. Hopefully with less assault on minors. Oh my God.